Welcome to episode 80, the big 80 of Broad Street Hustle. I am back from missing last week's show, battling a little illness. So I apologize. I didn't hear everybody's picks, but we will go through them. We're going to recap the Eagles game. It was a good one. Now they're on the bye week, so you're going to say, might be a boring show, but no, it's not. We're going to do our halfway point show we kind of do every year. Look back at our picks from earlier in the year, where we're at now, some new picks, new props, things that may have surprised us, etc. New divisions, playoffs, Super Bowls. And then we'll wrap up with our picks like we always do. So we have a big panel today. Our regular guys, Jason Sayeda.
What's up, Tom? And I just want to make everyone know I do not have the same shirt on as two of our other, I'm not going to say the word, members have on.
Oh, you have the same shirt, Chalky? No? Go ahead.
Where were you when we went through this 2 minutes ago?
He was on
I wasn't listening.
He was on Planet Meeker anyway, but you don't need to introduce me. All I'm going to say is if the green room is any indication of where this show's going, it's going to be one for the ages.
It's almost, it seems like everybody's been drinking before.
Volume up a little bit, Meeker.
Yeah, you're very low. You're very low. But we do have Chalky, as you heard,
yeah.
Christopher Michael Meeker, and we got a special guest. I don't know how they're positioned here on YouTube yet, but in my slide, he's on the bottom right corner. We got Walt donning his Dallas Cowboys shirt.
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me.
So we'll get the Dallas perspective.
What is that?
White? Number 11,
very good, right? No, but excellent, right?
Okay. All right.
Once upon a time, it was.
Okay.
We'll get the Dallas perspective of the game. Episode 80 of Broad Street Hustle. Let's jump into it. As always, I usually start with you, Jason. Give us your recap of the Birds.
It was a great game. I thought Hurts and Dak actually both played well. Obviously at the end, Dak kind of had a couple of miscues, but like I said, it was a back and forth game. I kind of almost think Dallas outplayed the Eagles, especially, defensively. Eagles secondary, and I don't know. That seems like it's going to be an issue at some point. They just get gashed with in the middle of the field and passing and stuff like that. But the D line took over in the last drive there and had a couple of big sacks, and it got hairy at the end, but they pulled it out. One thing going forward you have to keep an eye on is the Goddard injury. That's probably going to hurt them a little bit, but hey, they're 8-1 going into the bye. Can't ask for more, probably.
Yeah, to me, microcosm of so far Dak's career and Hurts' career. Games like that, Hurts comes out and wins, and games like that, Dak comes out and loses. We keep saying the same thing with the Birds every week that. They got outscored. They lost the turnover battle, but they won the game. They didn't turn the ball over. They fumbled 3 times, but picked it up each time. So they got a little bit of lucky, no question. Dallas definitely, for all intents and purposes, outplayed them. I thought the defensive line was not great, and that was a big problem for 3 quarters. Dak had 5 passes where he was held the ball for 4 seconds or more, and he was obviously 5 for 5 for 136 yards in those periods. But in the fourth quarter, the defense did step up with the line, almost blew it there in the end. But again, the Eagles just continuously find ways to win these games. Meeker, not Meeker. He's doing all kind of Chalky. We'll go to you. And if you know what Meeker's trying to say or do, you jump in.
He can't hear us, apparently.
Sign language, I don't know.
There you go, and I'm fine now.
There you go.
All
right. I'll make it short, and he can jump in. So, I think it wasn't a dominating win by any means. I would say the Eagles outplayed Dallas, but they certainly gave them every chance to win in the end. I think the Goddard injury could create some issues. I think you saw that on some of those late drives. If we get into it, but that 3rd and 3 play where they took the shot to Brown, which I think was a bad call. But that's the kind of play where you see Goddard blocks and then runs the short out to the sideline. They hit him on a screen type play, and he's one of their primary weapons on those plays. So not having him, I think, hurt them when they were protecting the lead in the fourth quarter. But they scored, I think they scored touchdowns on 4 out of 5 consecutive drives, I think, at one point. So the offense was moving the ball. The defense had its issues. Jason is absolutely right. And I think part of that is Lamb is like Jefferson and some of the other top receivers where he can kind of play wherever, and he ate them alive when he was lined up in the slot because they got a mismatch against the linebacker on some plays. They got Byard on him who, he's not covering Lamb. And they exploited it. I think Lamb had like 190-something yards, and he didn't score a touchdown, but he had almost 200 receiving yards. And they struggled to get consistent pressure till the end. And I think they really took advantage of the right tackle towards the end of the game and got a couple sacks there. But the Eagles did not give the game away, despite the fact that they tried to on several different ways. And Bradbury worries me at this point. He's not really playing well, and so if he can't play a little better, that secondary is going to be a huge issue, I think, going forward. But it's 8-1. I think a lot of people felt better about 8-1 last year at this point because it was not as expected as this year it's Super Bowl or bust. But it's 8-1, so best record in the league.
Yeah, Chalky alluded to it. The Eagles were the number one efficiency offense this week with if you look at yards per point, points per play. They were number one, which makes sense. They only had like 180-something yards, I think it was, or 220 or something like that, and 28 points. So obviously makes sense. Meeker?
Yeah, I mean, like Jason said, I think Dallas did outplay them. Statistically, if you looked at the team stats and didn't watch the game, you would have thought Dallas would have won the game. Dak was, pretty good in this game, I would say, except for taking the sack towards the end of the game, right? I thought that was big play for the Eagles. They did get to him, especially like you were saying, Chalky, at the end of the game, they had 10 quarterback hits in the game total. That end of the game was wacky. In 53 seconds, all these things happened. The Eagles fumbled the ball on third down. Steen picks it up. Bradbury's pass interference. He's injured. He goes out. Then they get roughing the passer. Then a nice long pass for 25 yards in Dallas. And then there's an encroachment on the Eagles, and Dallas false starts, and Sweat sacks him incomplete in the back corner. All this happened in 53 seconds, and of course it ends
Slay got hurt. Slay missed a couple plays.
Yeah, and then they went to Bradbury's side on that 25-yard pass, when he went out for that one play. And then you catch at the 4-yard line, and they're short. And all that happens in 53 seconds, basically. So crazy end of the game, entertaining game. Like you said, Eagles go into the bye 8-1. Probably not as good in 8-1 as they were last year at this time, but still 8-1. Like you said, Tommy, Hurts finds ways to win, and Dak finds ways to lose.
I wish I was an offensive coordinator. I would set up a hook and ladder on that last play. If you're, if somebody was coming, obviously the throw was short and he caught it on the 4-yard line. But if somebody was coming around and he could pitch it to them, who knows what would have happened?
They used to do that one play, too, where they would throw it semi-short, and they would have the whole team just kind of do like a wall block to try to, get running.
More
that's the play they chose.
Imaginative on those plays, yeah.
They dropped, 8 guys back? I think they only rushed 3, so they formed the wall at the goal line. So
but I've seen the offense form a wall themselves, and the guy catches the pass, and they have a full head of steam, and they try to just break
They did. Kansas City did against the Cowboys a couple Thanksgivings ago with
yes, they did.
I can't think of his name now. 10, but he caught it and went for like 40 yards. They just
Tyreek Hill
and blocked him. Tyreek Hill, yeah.
The one thing I'll say about Bradbury, that pass interference wasn't really his fault. He had good coverage on the guy. The ball was underthrown by 15 yards, and the receiver is the only one that could see it. That's one of those plays that it's an offensive league, and that favors the offense. But Walt, get us to Dallas when you've been on so many of the losing ends of Dallas games, so you could tell us what it was like as a Dallas fan to see it and your perspective of the game.
Well, first of all, I'm somehow frozen yet never moved. That's interesting.
You're in a good position now, so it's an action shot of you.
Me and I call him Meeker. So calling him Chris is just weird to me. So I talked to Meeker prior to the game, and he's like, all that matters is is this game. And I was like, listen, this game, my perspective, me personally, is doesn't really matter to me, honestly, as a fan. From the obviously, when the game's on, I'm cheering for them. It's the Eagles. But I know what this team is. They're going to win 11 games. They're going to be in the wild card, and we'll go from there. As for the game itself, that's what Dallas does. They always make mistakes. But when they play teams that they have more talent than, they overcome those mistakes. When they play good teams, you're not going to overcome those mistakes. Two of the Eagles' drives, 14 of their points, came when the Eagles started their drive from their own 40. You're not going to beat most any team that way, let alone perhaps the best team in the league. So, at the end of the day, that's why I think the Eagles are a good team. They're great in the trenches, and, a lot of teams live off of wait for the other team to make a mistake, and we take advantage of it. And I don't remember who said it, maybe Chalky or Tom. They take, they may not look great, but they pull these games out because I think they're good at taking care of opportunities when other teams make mistakes. And Dallas they like making mistakes. So how are you going to beat a team like the Eagles really when it matters if that's the dynamic that's at work?
And they have one shot at capitalizing on a mistake, when Swift fumbles the ball, but unfortunately the ball just didn't bounce their way. But
yeah, I mean, that was...
Yeah, but at the end of the game, they still had the ball with 30 seconds at the 6-yard line, so that was for not.
And they
would have
went
the ball
backwards 12 yards, right? So,
Yeah.
The right tackle looked like a pylon, which is incredible.
14 first downs in the fourth quarter and scored 6 points.
Right. The only way you can do that is a number of mistakes. There's no other way to actually do that.
But
Yeah,
I think
go ahead.
If I can just add, because Maker's point there, I mean, that's why I don't necessarily trust this team, because what little I've seen of Dallas this year, especially when they're behind, there's no sense of urgency. So McCarthy and his offense, they just grind the ball down. So 14, they're not getting big shot plays. So 14 first downs, they're converting on third down or whatever, and then they get to the goal line and they completely crap out in the red zone. Now, I know they scored a couple touchdowns early, but it's like the offense is grinding it out, and so it's like, oh yeah, we got a lot of first downs, but they're not doing anything with it. And whereas last year they were one of the best red zone offenses, right, when Moore was calling the plays. So, I mean, that's why, like, as talented as they are with McCarthy calling the plays, I can't see how that's going to make them a Super Bowl caliber team, which is kind of, I think, what you're saying, Walt.
It seems like
their
Pollard
offense,
is kind of...
it's an offense from 15 years ago.
I
don't see how trying to recreate. They run skinny posts all day long. I mean, it's not Aaron Rodgers throwing skinny post darts to people that have 3 centimeters of separation. The offense isn't. The running game has been non-existent all year. It's anemic. All of a sudden, the running game is gone. This is all year. So, I think 3.45 or 3.35 yards a rush. I mean, if you can't run the ball and you're going to drop back that many times with the right tackle like that, it's. Yeah, I mean, listen, they're solid. They're a solid team, but at the end of the day, they had a chance to beat a good team. But you've seen the difference between a really good team and a pretty good team. It's usually mistakes. It's not, for the most part, it's mistakes. So.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I thought, and I'm always aggressive, but when they were down 11 and it was 4th down, they went for it, and that's when they were short on the goal line. They should have kicked the field goal there. I don't understand what the point of going for a touchdown there is, because if you score a touchdown, you're down a score. If you kick a field goal, you're down a score. If you don't get the 4th down, you're down 2 scores.
What was it, 4th and what? I forget.
I was like only a yard, but you're still down a score. No matter what the outcome is, you're down a score, right? But if you don't get it, you're down 2 scores. So now you had a red zone trip, and you're still down 2 scores, which is what happened, which is why they had to score a touchdown at the end of the game as well. I don't know. I mean, I go for it 99% of the time. But to me, the risk reward was I don't see it.
I think if there's anything more than 4th and 2, I would kick. But 4th and 2 and shorter, I would have went.
I mean,
but you're still. What are you gaining?
Dak got dropped on his head at the 2-yard line.
But what are you gaining? But what are you gaining getting a touchdown there?
That now you only need to get to the 30-yard line to tie the game.
But you didn't, because you didn't get the 2-point conversion on the touchdown either.
Yeah.
So you're still down 2. You're still down a score.
NFL offense these days should be able to get you 1 yard at minimum.
Yeah, I'll say that the Eagles hadn't stopped Dallas in the red zone to that point in the game. Dallas had punted a couple times, but not.
But they're like the top 5 worst red zone offense in the league for a reason.
You're right. You're right. You're right. And normal coach, I would say there was you do the win probabilities of the plays, and I'm sure it said to go for touchdown, except for McCarthy said he doesn't do analytics. So I don't know if somebody got in his ear and told him that, if they were just on instinct. But
I think that's where the Eagles have an advantage because teams know Sirianni's going for fourth downs. He went for 2 on his first drive. So a coach who doesn't have that aggressive style has to change his mentality to, I need to go for it to keep up with this guy. And I feel like it throws them off kilter as well because now they're not coaching to their strength. They're coaching to Sirianni's strength. So
yeah, well, I'd be curious
to hear from Walt. Now, but
Dallas went for a couple fourth downs early in the game.
More,
and I felt like it was a reaction to the Eagles' aggressiveness, but I don't know if those are plays they're normally going for it on fourth down as it is every week.
They're fairly aggressive. I think I don't know the numbers, but I feel like they've been pretty successful in fourth down by and large on the year. But it's consistency. They'll have a game where they'll be very aggressive, like the Sirianni. You're saying maybe attributing to Sirianni, and then there'll be other games where he won't go for it on fourth down at all. So, he's a decent coach, but obviously
I think there was one fourth down where me as an Eagles fan was hoping they punt it, and they did punt. I think it was like 4th and 2 or 4th and 3.
I think it was in the third quarter, maybe.
Yeah, and I was like, I hope they punt here, and they did. So I didn't want them to go for it, and he didn't go for it.
I was just going to say, it seems like Pollard's getting exposed. He's not really a number one back. Like he was kind of putting up numbers last year as the change of pace back and stuff, and now that they don't have the workhorse back, he's not it, or is it just they're not opening up holes?
I would say it's more the line. There's not a lot of holes to run to. And they're very predictable. Their percentage of first down runs is astronomical, and they're like 1.75 yards a carry. They're in 2nd and 8 almost every series. Predictable, and there's not a lot of room to run. There really hasn't been. So he doesn't look he's coming off that surgery. That might have something to do with it, sure, but there aren't a lot of holes to run through either.
Okay. I was going to say, he's looking better than I would have thought he might have based on that injury in that playoff game coming back as quickly as he did. Well,
the Cowboys are 19th in the league and under 50% on fourth down.
What's the number?
They're under 50%. They're 47% on fourth down, and they're 19th in the league in that category. So apparently,
the only thing I'll say about that is it's the sample size.
Down it is.
The sample size is probably small,
yeah.
And if you're 4th and 20 because it's the last drive of the game, and you're going for it and you don't get it, that could skew your numbers. And I have no idea.
Yeah. And I don't know the
numbers.
I don't know the numbers either. I feel like in fourth and in the context of a game where it made sense to go for it, it wasn't some sort of desperation situation. My recollection is they've been pretty good with it now. How many of those fourth downs are skewed by circumstances, I couldn't say, but I feel like they've been pretty good with it.
Well, that just goes to show you how efficient the Eagles are because of the tush push. They're 77% in their first and goal.
Yeah, right. That 4th and 1 goal play from the 1, the Eagles 100% get that touchdown without snapping.
They're pretty much second and they're 1st and 8 pretty much when you look at it.
Yeah,
well,
first and 8.5.
I wouldn't say 8. I would say 9. Like I know Greg Olson was saying 8, but really
8.5 maybe.
They get 9 yards in the first 3 downs. They're getting a first.
Greg Olson was having some cognitive difficulties on the broadcast.
So the Eagles, Jason alluded to the secondary issues and them not being able to close games out with the run like they did last year, where they would hold the ball for 7-8 minutes. What do they need to crack out of the bye week to be a Super Bowl team? I mean, they are already, but what is their biggest correction, Jason?
I think offensively they're fine. I think Hurts has been playing really well. I think it's a secondary. I think they're gonna run into some tough teams coming up now. Teams that could throw the ball and teams that have good offenses, and it's really going to be interesting to see if it's going to burn them. So I think the defensively is what scares me with this team. I think offensively they're fine. Now that's with Goddard. Now we have to see what's going to happen with Goddard.
And what's funny is I was thinking about it, and the Eagles have given up a lot of yards in a lot of the games, and they only let up 23 points. So I was prepared to argue, whatever with you guys. So I'm going to look up yards per point, yards per play, assuming they're going to be pretty good because they're not letting up a lot of points, but but they were at the bottom. They were at the bottom of that as well. So defensively, their efficiency stats are poor as well. It's not just giving up yards; they're giving up yards and that equal, yards per point. The things we've always talked about. So they definitely have issues on that side. Meeker, did you have an answer?
I don't disagree. Yeah, I don't disagree. I'm with Jason on that. I think it's the secondary. I think their defense is getting pressure. We talked about last week. It didn't seem like they were getting as many sacks as I thought, but they are getting to the quarterback because at this point last year they have about the same number of sacks, so they are getting pressure. But the secondary, I think, is the one weak point of the defense. I think they play well against the run. I mean, I do believe that they're a Super Bowl team as is, but that's the one spot that I think that they need to improve on for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's to the point where teams are not even running the ball anymore either. I mean, they're throwing the ball. It's 70-30 percentages in pass versus run too. So that's going to hurt the passing numbers, but they're also doing it successfully. Chalky?
Yeah, I mean, I was just going to speak to that. I mean, their run defense is statistically one of the best, so part of the reason they're getting the ball thrown is because, if they're ahead and then people aren't having success running it, so they're kind of just giving up on it and taking their shots. And then really that back half of the defense, the linebackers, other than Cunningham, it's been, a mishmash. Now Dean maybe got for the season. He was not good in pass coverage, but and now your defensive backfield has been a rotation of guys in and out. Now, I wouldn't expect it to say, gee, I can't wait for Bradley Roby to get back, but I don't think he can make it any worse than how they've looked. And they don't, I think they talked about this in the broadcast, is Desai doesn't often bring more than 4 guys. So the backfield is, their schemes are predicated on the line getting pressure. And, Dak kept a couple plays alive, and you can't cover somebody for 7-8 seconds in the defensive backfield. Like, nobody is running a play designed for that. So if guys can run around and get open and do this and that, you're going to get thrown. So those plays where they're not getting pressure, that's going to be a problem. But I mean, the line as a whole, obviously, I still feel very confident in. But they're going to have to, maybe not even get as many sacks as last year, but keep up consistent pressure so the quarterbacks are getting the ball out. I think look at that first drive, it was kind of what Walt was saying, is run 2 yards, and then Dak had to get the ball out quickly, and he overthrew Lamb because there was pressure real quick. And it wasn't that Bradbury had him, or whoever was on him, had him locked down in coverage. It was he had to make a quick throw. And then on the offense, I mean, Juergens wasn't back this week, but he'll be back after the bye. So if he gives them some consistency on the offensive line at the right guard, they might be able to run the ball a little better. But this 3-game sequence out of Hurts has been as solid as the 3 games he's had, maybe in the last 2 years. So everything is starting to look good there. And of course, there's his knee. I mean, I don't know if we'll ever get the full story as to what exactly is going on with him in that.
That was my question.
Yeah, but the whole season could hinge on his knee, to say the least. But
yeah, Walt, jump in. Did you have perspective on the Eagles and what they have to improve upon?
Well, my question was going to be about his knee, because I had heard some things, not paying that close attention, and they took that shot, and I'm like, all right, well, he had a pre-existing injury, because they said he was getting testy in press conferences. I don't know if that's true or not either. I'd heard that. And then he takes a direct shot on the knee right before the half, and then he comes out and plays well. So I was like, what is the organization's official stance, or is there one, about what the injury is, or he's just playing through a pain thing, or any indication at all? I mean, I don't know.
Well, they're saying really a bruise. They're saying a bone bruise, but yeah,
bone bruise.
But he's not on the injury report every week, so.
But he hasn't been running, is that right? Like he's from the pocket, much higher percentage this year, like significantly.
I don't think he has.
Yeah, I don't know.
Not as effectively as he was last year, and I think that's going back 7 weeks, to be honest with you.
Yeah, we talked about from the first game that he hasn't been running the ball like he
That's
did.
all year?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the design runs, I forget the stat. His design runs are I guess the RPO where he picks the option to run. Their stats are very, very bad. He's made a couple nice plays with his legs on when the pocket's broken down or he's taking it down and gone. But the design runs are not they're not there. They're not as effective as they were last year.
All right,
He's pretty smart though. He gives himself up. He doesn't force issues either. I've seen a couple
he
times
throws
where
the ball. He throws the ball away quick. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good though.
All right, let's wrap up this Eagles segment. Let's move on to the NFL as a whole and the league as a whole at the midway point. I'll do a quick question before we go into some of our past picks and predictions. So, quick question for everybody, and I'll go first to show you. But the biggest surprise at the midway point in the NFL, and it could be about a player, it could be about a team. For me, as like I said, I'll go first. It's Justin Herbert. I don't know if I'm wrong about this kid.
No, he does not look good.
Or I know he has a finger issue, but I mean, I think he's one of the most losingest quarterbacks now with X amount of starts. We keep making excuses that his coach isn't this, that isn't that. But I mean, we all the time we say the quarterback. Yet he doesn't win games. He doesn't look good. The game that they just won, I mean, he wasn't anything special in that game as well. So am I just wrong about Justin Herbert? I see Meeker with a little cocky smile because I think that was a team he faded.
Yeah.
But don't worry, Meeker, we got enough ammunition on you,
we'll
that smile will go away in a second. But am I just wrong? I mean, jump in or we could just move on. But am I wrong on Herbert? Is he not the guy that we think he is?
I'd like to jump in because I was kind of flipping out watching that game the other night because they were my pick. They were just as inept as the Jets were offensively. I was watching that game and I was like, what the hell is going on with this offense? They are just not good. They're not a good team. I don't know if it's the coach. I don't think it's Kellen Moore because now you're going to blame another offensive coordinator. I think Herbert's going to have to start. If he's going to be an upper echelon quarterback like we think he is, he's got to play better. He's got to lead his team to these wins, and he's got to put up points. He's got to make plays, and he's just not doing it right now. So, I agree. I'm glad we're finished with them in Survivor, and I'm glad I won my pick with them just because the Jets are worse offensively.
Yeah.
But they are not good. Not.
So, Jason, you want to keep going? Did you have a point around the halfway that you were just kind of took you by surprise or wrong about or right about?
Yeah, I mean, I got to say, and we all said it, but I'll take as much blame as anybody. Cleveland's a lot better than I thought they were. Offensively, they're not great. I still don't like Watson. But defensively, they're really good. I mean,
Watson's only played 50% of the games, too. Yeah. I mean, they did it with Doran, whatever, and then whoever the other guy they had, I forget.
Yeah,
now.
so I mean, I'll admit I was wrong on Cleveland. They're a pretty good team.
Yeah, how about you, Meeker?
He's never wrong on anything, so I doubt that he'll have anything that he's wrong about.
No, I think I'm surprised at how good C.J. Stroud is playing. I mean, I know that Tampa Bay, they're just going off of last week for this particular part of the conversation. I know Tampa Bay is not a great team, but he threw for almost 500 yards. I think he broke a rookie record for yards in a game. And I thought he was the better quarterback coming out of the draft than Bryce Young, but I didn't think he was as good as he looks. And they don't have a ton of talent around them. There's not a bunch of great skill positions on that team. But I'm a little surprised at how good he is, and he may be better than I thought. And I know he's a second pick in the draft, so he should be good. But this early in his career, he's looking really good. The landscape of quarterbacks today, you can't tell me that guy doesn't look like he's going to be a top 10 quarterback pretty fast.
Well, he was drafted pretty high. So.
Yeah, but this is his rookie year. I mean, I'm saying that that's going to happen soon. It's not going to happen. 3 years down the road, we're talking he can jump into that echelon pretty fast. I mean, if you compare his first year to Trevor Lawrence's first year, I mean, I know Trevor Lawrence is a good quarterback, but he's way outplaying Trevor Lawrence in his first year.
That's Urban Meyer, though.
Yeah.
Oh, it could be. Yeah, okay. I'll give you that.
I mean, Lawrence still hasn't. He took an immediate jump with Peterson last year, but I wouldn't say he's plateaued, but it's been steady progress for that offense as well.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not like he has an offensive coach. I mean, Ryans is a defensive coach.
No, but they got Bob Slowick. He's a well-respected offensive coordinator. They got some. Tank Dell's a young receiver. They got some pieces there.
They've been bad for so long that they've been drafting high.
Yeah.
Like for a while now.
They're better than you think. I think.
Exactly.
I don't think they're a bad team.
Not to take anything away from Stroud, he's playing great.
What would you say to that, Walt, in terms of your surprise?
I completely underestimated the Ravens. They were flying under the radar. I'm not a big Lamar guy. They have a first-year OC coming out of college. I know he's very accomplished in college. But they don't really have a ton of weapons. I mean, Andrews, they have interchangeable running backs and receivers, but the defense has been lights out. I mean, obviously Roquan Smith was a big addition, but I'm not saying they aren't as good as other people thought or whatever. I'm just saying they were someone that I wasn't paying enough attention to, and through the first half of the season, they've shown that they are a legitimate contender, and I was not really focused on them.
Yep, same here. Chalky, how about you?
The good news is the Bears still have a chance to win this North, so I'm not going to say their disappointment yet. Stroud was definitely one for me. I thought Denver would be a little better with Peyton and getting Coach Wilson a little bit, but Wilson's just shot, it looks like, for the most part. And I don't know. Seattle, I think, is kind of playing back to their form for last year, and I was kind of down on them this year. So it seems like, they're not a real Super Bowl contender per se, but they seem to be a solid playoff team. So I would say they're one of the surprises that I was not high on to start the year. And the Ravens, I don't remember if I put them in the playoffs or not. The thing will be if Lamar can finish the year healthy, they'll be up there for the playoffs. But then the playoffs is a different conversation because their record is similar to what it was the last 2 years, and then Lamar got hurt, and it goes to hell after that. So if he stays healthy, it'll be a battle between them and the Bengals for the division. I think, all due respect to the Browns. But Burrow's injury was worse than we thought, I think, at the beginning of the year, but he's starting to come on now, and so Cincinnati's legit.
Yeah, we're going to get to the divisions and that in a second. Probably now. I guess we can move on in the absence of time, so we can keep the show going. Let's go through the divisions and playoff teams. So we did a show 8, 9, 10 weeks ago. 10 episodes ago, where we gave our, who do we think is going to win division, who's going to make the playoffs, some of the stuff we're alluding to now. Jason has all that information, so we're kind of going to go back and forth a little bit, so you can get a perspective of who we picked and who do we think now. And it's going to be a round robin. We're going to go division. We're going to go to guys. Walt, you weren't part of episode 10, or episode 70, so this will just be who. From here on out, you can say who you might have thought, but here's where I think now and give an opinion there. So let's just bang it out. We'll start with you, Jason, to get it flowing. The AFC East.
So AFC East, I mean, I had the Jets winning the division. Obviously, things changed 5 minutes into the first game. So, but I did have Miami second, and I was down on Buffalo. So, and I had New England last. So I wouldn't say I was wrong, but right now, as far as who's going to win that division, you got to say Miami at this point is going to win. I just don't think there's something wrong with Buffalo. They're just not. They're not what they've been, and obviously the Jets, without Rodgers, have no chance. So I'll say Miami at this point.
All right, and to save time, everything Jason said. I had the Jets. I was down on Buffalo. Now I got Miami. Still down on Buffalo. Blah, blah, blah. Meeker. So who did Meeker have?
So Meeker had the Jets also. But he had Buffalo second, Miami third.
So where are you at today, Meeker?
I haven't seen Miami beat a good team yet.
They haven't.
I was going to say because they haven't.
Right. I mean, that's what I'm saying. So, and Buffalo's had in the first part of the season a little bit of a harder schedule than them. And they're only separated by one game. I am a little down on them, though. Like Jason said, I don't know. I can't pinpoint what the problem is other than the fact that they can't run the ball. But I'm going to say Miami will hold on to the division. And I do think Buffalo will make the playoffs, though. So both those teams will make the playoffs. I think, obviously, the Jets' season's ruined, so they're out.
All right, and now Chalky.
So Chalky had Miami winning the division with Buffalo second and Jets third.
Chalky?
Yeah, I mean, no reason to change that. Buffalo, I think I did have as a playoff team, and that's borderline right now. They're not their home road splits are kind of ridiculous. I mean, I know they lost the one home game against Jacksonville, but they blew out some teams at home, and then they go on the road, and they're just not like the same team, it seems like. And last couple of weeks has been a couple close games, so they might be a 9-8 team in the end.
All right. Well, what do you think there in the AFC East?
Well, I also am down on the Bills in a sense that I don't believe they're a Super Bowl caliber team, and they've suffered a lot of defensive injuries. But I think the Dolphins are soft is really the issue, especially on both lines. I think they're a soft team, and I think Buffalo, despite not being a contender, they have their limitations. I think they're going to still win that division because I don't like Miami inside on either line. I think when it comes down to it, they could be bullied, and I think teams are going to figure that out if they can just minimize explosives, which you just play cover 2 and take the chances and actually tackle. I think
and it seems like that's what teams are. I mean, because just look at Hill's last couple games. He has like a ton of catches, but his yards have been like under 100 yards. So they're keeping him from that.
Yeah, you got to tackle. It's easier said than done, but I'm not a big fan of teams that I think are soft on either line, and I think they're soft on both lines, especially offensive line. Miami, so they scare me. Although I think they'll still be in the playoffs as well.
Okay, so let's move to the West. KC, I have winning that division. I think I had the Chargers, but I'm gonna switch that to KC for obvious reasons. Jason.
Same. We had the same in the beginning. Obviously, the Chiefs are going to win that division now.
Chalky, switch it up.
Chalky had the Chiefs.
I had the Chiefs. I'm sticking with the Chiefs.
Looking good so far for the chalk, Meek.
Meeker
Yeah,
had the
same.
Chiefs. Yeah.
And I don't think the Chargers are going to make the playoffs, and I don't think I had them making the playoffs. So.
All right, and then Walt, for your perspective as a newbie.
I mean, obviously, they don't really have any competition at Chiefs, and that's about as chalk as you can get. What's interesting is you watch the Chiefs, though, they don't look like the Chiefs, right? I mean, they're a defensive team at this point, and it's play defense, and Mahomes makes a handful of plays, and so it's totally out of context for them. But they're differently built, which is dangerous, though. If you have a team that's going to hold somebody under 20 points, and you tell Mahomes, I know you don't have any weapons, but go make 2 or 3 plays. It's a very dangerous situation still, but they're not what you're used to.
Yeah, absolutely. I would agree with that. Absolutely. All right, let's move to the North, the AFC North. Meeker, we'll give your let you go first because we know what you think here.
Yeah, I was big on Baltimore this year. I had them going to the Super Bowl against the Eagles, but they're going to be in for a dogfight towards the end of the year. I think Cincinnati, with the early injury of Burrow, he looks really good the last couple weeks, and they're a Super Bowl caliber team. The one thing that I think they have the advantage with, not only I think defensively they're a better team than Cincinnati, but they can run the ball, and Cincinnati can't really run the ball. I mean, they can't really close out games with the run. So I think that might be a problem for them if they have to go up against a team like Baltimore in the playoffs. So,
yeah, but I could argue that Baltimore can't effectively throw the ball.
I don't know if I would agree with that. I mean, Lamar has thrown 3 interceptions all year. And look, I mean, he's not going to be a Joe Burrow, but at the same time, he can run, and he's going to run for about 1,000 yards this year. So that's another threat, that you have.
What would be different this year in the playoffs for Baltimore versus years past?
I just think they have a better defense, and I think they can run the ball with running backs more effectively than they have in the past. And I think that travels that kind of game plan. If he has to make a big play to win a game, do I think he can? Yeah, they're skilled position players
throw.
Throw. I'm not saying he can't. I'm only saying that we've seen that he couldn't in the past. Maybe this is a different situation, So last year was a disaster for this team. There was too much drama going on with this team. Harbaugh did not coach well last year. He panicked in a lot of situations. He hasn't had to do that this year, and they're playing lights out. What can I say?
All right, Chalky, where was he at?
So we all had the Bengals except Meeker.
Okay, so Chalky.
Yeah, I mean, for me, with the Ravens, it's not whether they can win they can win the division. Lamar, his record has been great regular season. He's won MVP. It's what are they going to do in the playoffs? We're not talking about playoffs just yet.
But who do you think is going to win the division?
The division comes down to 2 weeks from now, which is the Baltimore-Cincinnati rematch. Baltimore already got the one earlier this season. I'll say Cincinnati because Burrow's gotten healthy and they got some momentum, and because it was my pick originally.
Jason?
Yeah, I just bet Cincinnati yesterday plus 320 to win the division. Baltimore's got a tough schedule coming up, and they do, like Chalky said, they play the Bengals. So I think the Bengals could win the division. So I bet the Bengals plus 320.
Yeah, and I'm on the Bengals as well. Walt?
Yeah, I mean, that's an excellent point. It's going to come down. I mean, they're 2 games back, so to think that they could really overcome that without beating the Ravens in the next game, so it's a cop-out, I guess. I'm going to say Cincinnati, but obviously the win, they're going to have to beat the Ravens 100%. If they lose that game, it's ancillary at that point. So I'll go with Cincinnati, though, because I'm a big Burrow guy. I mean, who isn't really, obviously, but, I do like him a lot, so.
All right, and we'll finish off the AFC with the AFC South. And this one I'm going to go to Chalky. And the reason I'm going to go to Chalky is because he had the Tennessee Titans winning the division. And I'm going to give him a chance for redemption here and change his pick, or is he going to stick with it?
Well, no, I can't take the favorite in every division. I'd be a little different than you guys. So, no, Tennessee at 3-5 is not likely, although we'll see how Will Levis takes over. But, look, Jacksonville, they've solidified themselves as the best team in that division. They'll win and will likely be the only playoff team coming out of the South.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I have Jacksonville as well, and I picked Jacksonville. Jason?
Yeah, Jacksonville. But let me, since we always, kill Meeker, let me give Meeker credit. He did have Jacksonville and Houston second, and he was the only one. So I'll give him a little credit right now before we kill him at some point.
Yeah, but you have no idea how that.
No, I don't.
Everybody's 3-5.
Is Houston
4-5? No, Houston's 4-4, and Indianapolis is 4-4.
I think Houston's
they're 4-5.
Going to finish
Indianapolis, I think. But
4-5,
yeah. We're all going to stick with Jacksonville, obviously. I mean, this is a big test this week. I'd like to see how they play against a good team, good physical team like the Niners. So, should be a good test.
Didn't they beat Baltimore didn't they beat somebody overseas? Baltimore?
They beat the Saints overseas, right?
Yeah. No, Buffalo. So that was I said Buffalo lost at home to Jacksonville. That was their one bad home game. It was a London game. So
yeah,
it wasn't really a true home game. So they've been a different team in Buffalo than on the road.
All right, and Walt?
The Jaguars, it would have been my pick. I mean, it's kind of weird doing it now, obviously, and they have a 2-game lead, so obviously it would be silly to me to just throw somebody else out there. But I would have picked the Jaguars from the onset, which is I'm sure they were favorite. I don't know that,
awesome
though.
And we have another Frozen video, and this time it does not look as good as the other one.
Look at the face.
And that's Meeker.
We're all frozen, what I'm saying. I see everyone.
No, it's just me and you.
Yeah.
Well,
and your video,
not good.
your Frozen is not good. Is not
so much for using the cloud tonight, but we'll see.
All right, NFC East. I got the Birds.
That's easy.
Jason?
Yeah, the one thing I'll say is we all had the Eagles, and we all had Dallas second. I had Washington third, and Chalky had Washington third. So,
yeah, that's like picking the ugliest girl. That's like picking the ugliest girl.
We were down on the Giants than you guys were, so if that means anything.
It doesn't. And Meeker is gone, I guess. So, Chalky. Now, there he is.
I'm here.
Chalky.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
I don't think Tony DeSpirito, whoever's playing quarterback for the Giants, are going to get them out of last place.
Tommy DeVito from Goodfellas.
Tommy DeVito, yeah, right.
Think I'm funny?
The rankings as they are now will not change.
You guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, we got you.
Yeah.
We
Okay.
got you.
Video is no longer.
We wish we would. I wish
we can see you and hear you.
Unfortunately, I can still see your
You
video.
might have to give Chalky a raise after tonight's what he's got to do tonight.
Meeker, NFC East.
Yeah, same. Eagles, Dallas. Both teams to make the playoffs. Eagles to win the division and take home field throughout the playoffs.
How about you, Walt?
Yeah, I mean, I'd be silly to think it's going to change. Dallas would have needed to win that game like Cincinnati needs to beat the Ravens. That was Dallas's game if they were going to have any shot to win the division. So that was pretty much de facto NFC champion. Not de facto. It was Dallas's only shot. So obviously Eagles and then Dallas. And,
All right.
Giants were dreadful. So
Dreadful. NFC West. Jason, I'll give you your thunder here.
Yeah, I mean it's going to be the same. San Fran, Seattle.
Yeah, I'm
Arizona
same San Fran, Seattle. Meeker.
Same. Yep.
Chalk.
I mean, yeah, I'll say same, except San Francisco should get back to form when they get healthy, but if they don't, Seahawks are going to hang around, I think.
The
So
only
I'm
thing,
confused.
Geno
Did
Smith-
you
Geno
pick
Smith
the
is-
Niners or did you pick?
No, I
Dolphins to
picked
win
I picked the
division?
Niners at the beginning of the year.
Geno
No, I
Smith
mean,
is back
right
to
now.
being Geno Smith.
Right now,
That's the
right
only
now.
problem.
But I'm concerned that
But-
Geno Smith, but
you had a buyout clause in there just in case. Sounded like.
I'm banking that when Trent Williams comes back and Debo, that the offense will get rolling again. But 17 points a week is not going to get them the division.
But if they don't, you have Seattle.
I think Seattle's not going to roll over.
But you had San Fran.
I have San Fran. Yeah.
All right, got it. Well, Walt.
I'm sorry. We cut out at the very end. So where are we? I'm sorry.
NFC West.
West, San Fran and Seattle.
Oh yeah, I mean Seattle is going to stick around, and I don't know, Jason. I have to admit, Geno Smith. He's playing pretty well. He has some turnovers in the red zone, but I think it's a product of the line a little bit. He's a little pressure, but he's impressed a little bit. I can't believe a guy that's in his 30s just came back in the league last year. He makes some tough throws. He's not
Last
bad.
couple games though, Walt, he's been bad. Like he
They
might
got
have started the
overrun in
season
Baltimore.
okay, but he's been bad for the last 4 games. He's got like 8 interceptions or something.
Yeah, he had a bad fumble last game.
He's definitely turning the ball over, but I mean, play for play, I think he's done pretty well. I mean, turnovers are bad, obviously, but I mean, this is a guy that we would have just classified as a clown up until 18 months ago for his whole career. I think he's done pretty well, like respectable, all things considered. But yeah, 49ers, Seahawks, they're definitely going to make the playoffs. Not definitely, but I think they will make the playoffs.
Okay, the North. This was a tough. I think this division was all over the place. I think I had Minnesota. I am going to stick. Not stick. I'm going to change to Detroit now, just because of injuries. I mean, I can't see Dobbs leading Minnesota. Love leading Green Bay. So I will go to Detroit. Meeker.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to change. I was in Minnesota too. Right now, as it stands, Minnesota would be in the playoffs, and I think more of the question is whether or not that they'll make the playoffs rather than some other team with this injury to Cousins. And Dobbs played really good last week, so maybe they can toe the line. I mean, there's not a plethora of great teams in that 4-4 type record, So I think they'll make the playoffs. This is a pretty big week for them. They play the Saints, so that's a big game for both teams. But yeah, Detroit's going to win that division for sure.
Chalky.
Yeah, it's going to be Detroit, and Detroit actually might have a pretty good shot of taking home field in the NFC. They really, I mean, their toughest games left are this week at the Chargers and then at Dallas in Week 17. There's not really any good teams left, all due respect to the Saints, but they could end up being a 14-3, 13-4 team. That might be enough to get home field.
Yeah, I would be surprised if they go 14-3.
Considering they have 2 losses already, but
Yeah, and that's exactly why. Jason
Detroit.
and Walt.
Yeah, Detroit. I think, and not talk about bad quarterbacks. How bad is Jordan Love, real quick? I tried to give the kid the
bad.
benefit of the doubt, and he's been horrendous.
He's big.
But yeah, Detroit, I think they're going to be a 2 seed.
Yeah. All right, and we'll finish it with the South, and Meeker will give you your shot.
I think the Saints will hold on and win the division. They're not going to be a 11-6 division winner. I think they're like more of a 9-8, maybe 10-7 if they're lucky. The rest of that division just trash. They were trash coming into the year, and they're still trash. I'm not going to call the Saints trash because I don't think they're trash. I mean, they're starting to get get it together a little bit, honestly.
They're trash.
But
I had a survivor pick on them last week. We all did, and I'm pretty sure we would all.
They did not play well. There was so many bad
trash.
coaching decisions in that game. I can spend the whole show talking about it. But in the end, I think they're the best team in the division, but I don't think they're going to make a lot of noise in the playoffs. I don't think any other team in that division will make it either. No.
Jason?
The Saints.
Yeah, I'm on the Saints as well. Chalky?
Atlanta figures it out and wins the division.
I agree.
Well, that was your pick in the beginning, so you're sticking with it.
Walt? Did he say I agree?
Falcons, yeah. I mean,
Falcons?
Ritter was pretty bad, and Heineke, while he's not good, he thinks he's good, and that actually counts for something. And they have weapons, and he has a good arm. Now he's going to make mistakes too, but he actually can get the ball to these weapons. And if Arthur Smith actually gives the ball to Bijan Robinson, I think that offense could do some things. I'll go to Falcons.
Jason, did you and I have an under-over on what week Desmond Ritter would be benched? I think in the first. When the preview of the season.
I know we didn't like him. I don't think anyone liked him, but I know we said he was not a good quarterback. So.
Yeah.
All right, did you want to just give a quick six playoff teams as they lie now and kind of wrap this up and move on? So for Jason, who do you have in the AFC as your six?
My AFC, so you know my division winners, so I'm just going to say it's going to be the Chiefs. No, not the Chiefs.
Chargers.
What the hell I did. No, it's going to be I'm all confused now. Buffalo.
San Diego.
I'm sorry. Go to somebody else.
Meeker.
The four division winners we talked about and the three wild cards will be Buffalo, Cincinnati, and Pittsburgh.
Okay, I like that. Chalky.
Baltimore, Buffalo, Chargers are your wild cards.
All right, I have Chargers, Baltimore. I think it's going to be a combination of either Indianapolis or Houston. That's gonna get there. Jason, do you have it together?
Yes, I have mine now. It's going to be Baltimore. It's going to be Cleveland and Buffalo as my wild cards.
And Walt, what did you see as your wild card teams?
In the AFC or both conferences?
AFC right now.
AFC. Cincinnati, the wild card, and Miami.
And you got one more.
Oh, one more. I'm sorry. And the Browns. I'm sorry. Yep.
All right, so not crazy, obviously. All right, NFC real quick. Eagles, San Fran, you got that. So I got Dallas, Seattle, and Minnesota. Jason. Same. Meeker.
Same.
Chalky.
Seattle, Dallas, and I guess it's got to be. I'll say New Orleans gets the 7th seed. Why not? Gotta make him feel. Gotta make Meeker feel all right.
And Walt, NFC.
Same. Seattle, Dallas, and New Orleans.
Yeah. So I mean, so many bad teams. All right. Thank God that's over. Props. Jason, did you say? I got nothing. Jason, did you have props? I'm sure you do.
I have a couple. So MVP, I think Burrow is still good odds at plus 700, and Lawrence at plus 2,000. You know, if Jacksonville somehow gets the number 1 seed, there might be value there. Do you want me to go through everyone or just MVP?
Yeah, no, go through whatever you have. Yeah.
Coach of the year, I think D'Amico Ryans is plus 600. I think he's got a big shot. And Kevin O'Connell, if Minnesota wins if somehow they get into the playoffs with Dobbs as their quarterback at plus 2,300, that's a bet. Offensive player of the year, A.J. Brown, plus 550. I think he's got a big shot. Defensive Player of the Year. I wasn't on Garrett in the beginning. I was on T.J. Watt. I think Garrett is going to win, but he's only plus 200. But he's not the favorite right now. Somehow Parsons is the favorite, which I don't see. And then that's it. I don't really have any other bets there.
How about anybody else? Did you guys, Meeker, Chalky, Walt, anything caught your eye at this point?
Defensive Player of the Year, Danielle Hunter is plus 5,000. I think he leads the league in sacks right now. Might not get Defensive Player of the Year because there's a couple other guys out there that are having great years. But if he ends up with 20, 21 sacks, he's going to get a shot at it.
Okay. Chalk or Meek? Or Chalk or Walt?
Yeah, Burrow, I think, was my MVP pick at the beginning of the season, so if you can still get him at 7-1. I don't like Jackson, Hurts, or Mahomes at 3.5-1 right now. And comeback player of the year, Hamlin was a heavy favorite. He got in, and now he's only minus 110. So if you have anybody else you like there, I can't see how he doesn't win it, but the odds have drastically dropped. So I don't know. That's just funny to me.
For me, the only guy that could beat him is Rodgers. If Rodgers comes back and plays, he might get it. But I mean, who else are you going to give it to? The guy died on the field.
I agree, but he was like minus 700 before the season. Now he's only minus 110.
He's only played
so
one game, right? He's only got in one game.
You got to think
he only has.
He wins it for just being alive.
I think that's all he needed to get to, at least at the beginning of the year. So if you liked him at minus 500, I think there's value at minus 110, but that's just a shady change, to me.
Yeah, there's value there.
When you look at comeback player of the year, somehow Lamar Jackson's listed. We talked about this in the podcast when we started. It doesn't make sense. I don't even know what comeback is.
Right. Well, really, if he's got MVP votes, he should get comeback player of the year. Really, if he qualifies,
shouldn't even be available to be comeback player of the year.
Yeah, but McCaffrey or Barkley played 11 games and got it, or was eligible the next year.
It's going to be
he
Hamlin
missed 5 games.
Geno Smith won it coming back from nothing. He was nothing, and then he played well. He come back from what? No, I mean he was hurt last year, so that's why he's eligible. That's the bottom line.
Yeah, see, I actually think guys, the award should go to a guy like Geno Smith, where he came back from stinking. Where a guy where an all-pro guy gets hurt for 5 games and comes back. That to me, that isn't a comeback player.
It should be extraordinary. It should be Hamlin or Rodgers. They're both extraordinary.
Yeah, I feel like maybe not catastrophic, but like an Achilles or something like almost career, something you could almost consider that could have been career threatening. It would have to be that for an injury, not just an ACL.
That linebacker had cancer and all that stuff and came back and like somewhere like that.
Yeah.
But,
otherwise, call it most improved player.
Well, yeah, I kind of look at
Which
it
they
as
have as well, right? Yeah.
Oh, that's another award?
That's basketball.
I don't think the NFL has that.
NBA's got it.
Really?
NBA definitely has it, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, see, I always looked at it as a most improved, and that's why I like a Geno Smith or something. But all right, I think that is it, right? It's for the midway point. Now we'll get into our regular picks and give them out and go to bed, hopefully.
Yep.
Some of us.
All right, so I'll start. So over under, once again, under crushed 10-3 last week. There was one push. So under is now 82 versus, and I should start wearing glasses, 54, I believe. So it's 60% on the year under, which is absolutely ridiculous. I think since week 5, under's like 65%. It's just crazy. But anyway, so public over under, they were 7-7, nothing extraordinary there. Public spread again 7-7. Public still 56% on the year, 75-58. Let us get to our picks. And
real quick, I did see. I think there was a college football over under that's like 28 this week. Was it Iowa and somebody?
I heard that's like the lowest.
Yeah.
28. Yeah.
I think it was like 28, 27 and a half, something like that. And the public is still taking the under, from what I've heard.
That's pretty bad. All right, let's get to our picks. So last week, we'll start with Chalky. Chalky went 2-1. He hit another best bet. He hit the Bengals-Bills under. He had the Seahawks-Ravens under, but once again, he lost his third pick with Dolphins money line. I went 1-2. I somehow salvaged a win on my best bet with the Chargers covering, but I just told you guys there was 3 overs last week. I wound up finding 2 where I picked under on, believe it or not. So Vikings-Falcons was somehow that went over. So I lost that. And I lost the Bucks and Texans as an under. That was a loser. Tommy went 2-1. He hit his best bet, which was the Colts, -2.5. He lost with the Cardinals. He had them with the points. He lost that game.
That Meeker shook his head. It was a 94% public bet, Meeker. That's why I went with Arizona. The teams
Tommy
are
Toon, name that
doesn't.
Toon quarterback or something like that.
Yeah, again, it was a 94, but I forgot you always go with the public, so that makes sense why you would shake your head. You can't understand.
And Tommy's third pick was Bills-Bengals under, so he won that, so he went 2-1. Then we get the Meeker.
Wait, I want Meeker to see this. Go ahead.
I have to throw a challenge flag, but
Go ahead.
No, you're not, because we'll get to that. So the Bengals, we all had our best bet last week, so we all did well. So he had the Bengals -2. It was a little Joe Public, but that's all right. He also lost with the Vikings-Falcons under, and then he lost with the Texans given 2.5 points. And I don't care the circumstance, because whether you lose by 0.5 point or 75 points, it counts as a loss.
Yeah, we should all on this show get a challenge flag for losses like that.
No.
They could not kick because their kicker was out of the game.
It's part of handicap.
Quarter, and they couldn't kick the extra point at the end of the game and just knelt on it. And that was the worst beat you can possibly imagine, when you can't trot your kicker out there to kick an extra point. And you just race back to actually win the game and can't kick an extra point.
Once again, if you lose 59-0, or if you lose by 0.5 point,
throw in the challenge flag.
It's a loss.
Yeah, but was the time expired in that game?
There's 6 seconds
You have to kick
left.
the extra point or go for 2. You have no matter what. If you
6 seconds left.
They might not have kicked the extra point anyway, to be quite honest.
Well, there was
with
6
you.
seconds left, so they had to do something. So.
They could have knelt on it, because you could get an extra point blocked and return
Go
for
2
2, and now
points
it's a
the other way.
tie game.
Yeah, but all right.
All right, let me finish. So our records overall. So Chalky is the leader. He's 17-10 with a profit of $582. He is 63% win percentage, 27% ROI. I'm 16-11, profit of $350, 59% win percentage, 13% ROI. Tommy's 13-14 with a loss of $123, 48% win percentage, -5% ROI. Meeker 11-15, a loss of $499, 42% win percentage, -19% ROI. For the year, the pod's still positive. It's 57-50, $310 profit, 53% win percentage, 2.9% ROI. Our best bets on the year, I made a big comeback. I was 1-4. I'm now 5-4. And Tommy is 4-5. He's making a big comeback also. He was 1-5. Chalky's 7-2, so Chalky's really killing best bets this year. Meeker's actually 5-4. So the pod's 21-15. For all time, I'm 17-9. Best bet, Tommy's 14-10. Chalky 16-10. Meeker's 11-15. Best bets. And finally, our all-time records, because I know Walt always loves hearing these.
This is very important. This goes on our thread. Very important.
Yes. So get your pen and paper ready, Walt.
It's already out.
I'm 49-30 with a profit of $1,443, 62% win percentage, 18% ROI. Tommy is 41-32, profit of $742, 56% win percentage, with a 10% ROI. Chalky is 41-39 with a slight loss of $129, 51% win percentage, -2% ROI. And Meeker, he is 34-43. He has a loss of $1,300. He is a 44% handicapper with a win percentage of 44% and a negative 16% ROI.
But as Meeker always says, he only loses on the pot. He wins all his bets. He's confused.
Walt can tell us, right?
Meeker's doing better than I thought.
Yeah, see?
And all
It's an
time,
improvement.
the pod is a 53% win percentage and a 2.7% ROI. So even with Meeker,
Look,
We are
betting
still
days-
a profitable podcast.
The betting
I would
days
start
with Walt-
broadcasting your win percentage as a broadcast podcast minus Meeker, because I think you should do that.
Because
the-
people could
The
go
betting
the
days
opposite of
with
me.
Walt go back to high school, and you could. I mean, with both of us. This is not just me.
Jason,
Both of us. Were
Jason, haven't I given you like 4 or 5 winners this year? I've given you like
So Walt has given me some very good picks. He has, as far as what's the names?
prop bets.
Prop
Prop
bets.
bets?
Yes, prop bets. He has. So hopefully he's got a couple. For
Yeah,
us tonight.
hopefully this has some for the show. All right, let's go. Let's move on to our actual picks. Chalky, we'll go with you first since you are leading the pack.
All right. I hate this going first. Anyway.
Wait. Why?
have you
I just don't like
doing
going
this why,
first.
Chucky?
Because
aren't your picks written down?
You're the leader.
no, I mean it's good. I mean you're getting your win percentage up by taking one of my picks every week because you get to go like second. And
Here we
third.
go. Here we go.
But why would you hate going first? It almost
I
sounds
just
like
don't like
maybe
to go
you do a little-
first,
that's
'cause-
a little stealing. It sounds like a little stealing.
I've been going first for weeks, and my record speaks for itself. I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
Go ahead.
Speaks for itself. All right. So I don't know if the public's catching on, but this seems to be a very heavy under week so far as percentages looks. But I found a couple under games. So top pick under 44.5 in the Washington Seattle game. That's minus 112. Second choice is under 43 in the Arizona Atlanta game. That is minus 108. And my ever popular fade always third pick is going to be Chargers money line plus 130 against the Lions.
Okay. And we'll go from the top to the bottom, Meeker.
Nice segue.
So the public is heavy on the under, like Chalky was saying. So I'm going to fade the public and use a Tommy, whatever, whatever you want to call it. Method.
It's not the same.
Tommy method. And we're going to go Colts, Pats over 42.5, minus 115. Both these teams' defenses are really not that good. So I think 42.5 is a low number. We're going to go over that. We're
What
also
is it?
going to
Minus
go
what?
over.
Minus
115.
Is that right, Chalky?
Yep.
Okay.
I'm also going to go over in the Baltimore-Cleveland game. That's over 38. That's minus 110. And this is the heavy public pick of the week for me, and it's going to be my third pick, and that's Seattle minus 6.5, minus 112 against Washington.
So wait, I just gotta get. So Jason just went through how unders is doing well, and you went with 2 overs.
65%.
You went with 2 overs.
Well, here's the reason: because the public is on the under right now. So if you want to fade the public, you go over.
It's not the same. As
Oh boy!
All right, well, it's never the same.
I
if I'm doing
digress.
All right, my top pick this week is Houston plus 6.5, minus 108. Don't know if that changed.
6.5 is minus 112.
Okay, minus 112 now. I'm going back to the well. Arizona plus 2, minus 115. Back to the tune.
No, Kyler
And-
Murray's playing this week, I think.
Murray's playing.
Yeah,
Oh.
I'll be back.
Comeback game. And, I don't, players are irrelevant to me. I bet lines. And Green Bay money line plus 145.
Plus 145.
That's what it was, I believe.
Chalky?
Chalk.
142.
142.
All right, Jason. And then Walt will finish us off.
So we got a head-to-head this week. My best bet is the Falcons money line. I'm going to go money line. I don't want the points in that game. So the money line was minus 125.
That's correct.
Bounce back and Kyler Murray from being off 11 months. No thanks. I'm dead against him. So that's my best bet.
Well, technically you can both win, so it's a head-to-head.
We
but
could both win because I'm going money line. Yep. And then I have Packers Steelers under 39, and it should be minus 112. I don't know why I can't see anymore.
Age.
Is that right? Minus 112.
112, yep.
Yep. And then my last is I'm going to go 49, and the reason the Packers Steelers is obvious. Like those are two horrendous offenses and two good defenses, so that's under. And then 49ers Jacksonville. That's going to be some bad weather, and Lawrence has been bad in bad weather, and against Cleveland, Purdy was not good in bad weather. So I'm going to go under in that game. It's under 45 minus 110. I think that's going to be a tight, low-scoring affair.
All right, and Walt, take us home with your 3.
Okay. So I like the 49ers -3. Yeah, I don't know, obviously, what you use. This is what I saw. So
We
correct
use
me if I'm wrong.
DraftKings.
Okay. So, I mean, we can correct them if one. What I seen Dallas -16.5. I still like that because this is what Dallas is. They're a bully. They destroy bad teams.
I think it was 17.5.
This is right.
It's
So that's fine.
17 minus 108 sitting
That's
right
fine.
now.
This is what they
17?
do. They destroy bad teams. And I like the Browns, and I see them +6. I don't know again if that's what you guys have.
Plus 6.5.
Okay.
Minus 110.
And I do have one prop bet, and I seen a total of 64.5. Pollard's rushing yards over 64.5 is going to be a get right for him, which all just coincides in them bullying a terrible team.
That makes sense. Yeah. All right. Anybody else to have a prop bet to finish the show off, or?
They have a 3 touchdown score. I don't know. I didn't. I think it's
Right.
plus 750. But Travis Etienne.
You
CeeDee
probably
Lamb,
just
Taysom Hill.
stick to the one.
Three
touchdown.
touchdowns against the Niners.
The 30
No,
team
these
parlay
are
is almost hit. It's
3 team touchdown parlay. 3 guy. Taysom
Okay.
Hill, Etienne, and CeeDee Lamb.
Try to give us a running back this week on our.
Yeah, just how about you work on one guy to
we don't-
score?
we
Just get
want
one guy.
If it's
2 weeks in a row I had a guy score
it's
until last week.
not last week.
Not last week,
If
no.
it's minus, that's fine. I do have 2 touchdown guys. I don't know which one I'm giving us for our parlay, but I like Montgomery to score for the Lions. And I also like Dalton Schultz to score for the Texans.
Okay.
So the aforementioned college football game is Rutgers at Iowa. That's at 28.
Yeah.
You can get that down to 23. Under 23 is plus 197. So I want to give that out. Under 23 or plus 197.
Probably going to be like
Iowa.
13-7.
It could be.
Yeah, I mean,
17-0.
obviously,
Yeah, I don't
they
know.
can only make it so low before it becomes, unplayable. So that's crazy.
Did you guys know what I'll end with this. I know we're running long, but there are key numbers for over-under, and there's an order of them. The top key number is 41. Then it goes 43, 37, 44, 51, 33, and 47. So apparently those are the ranking of.
Yeah, it's
average
probably the most
scores.
common score. So
Most
21-17, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
21-17 would
So
get
41 is the most common score.
you. Yeah, so it's at 24-17. Probably.
Yeah. Just thought that was interesting.
Yeah. All right. Well, episode 80, Broad Street Hustle. Thanks to Walt as our special guest, as you got to see his one photo the entire show. And everybody else, as always, thanks for listening and keep it going. Have a great night.